go on a dark desert highway, cool wind in my... Oh, wait. I was thinking of something else. Welcome back to the Squatchers Lounge podcast, Voices in the Night. This week, we're off to Kentucky for a night of whoops and howls from researchers and the like, along with an Expedition Stumpy update and plenty of other stuff on tonight's episode. I'm sure like some news and maybe some other crap. So sit back and get your headphones on, because here's our host with the most wicked beard in the business, the Reverend Jeff Kelly.
Hello, everybody. Yes, indeed. Welcome to the Squatchers Lounge podcast, season 6. Voices in the Night. That's right. We're talking about Bigfoot vocals, whoops, hollers, whispers in the night. That's right. That's all kind of craziness coming up here in just a little bit. Yes, we missed a show last week and we delayed a show. We delayed a night last night, but damn it, here we are because the striper fishing, it was so good. Whew. Man, I'm going back this weekend. That is for sure. Okay, people, let's talk about the news, because there is a bunch of it that's actually kind of interesting this week for us. So, and a lot of it has to actually do with Sasquatch. So imagine that. We're going to talk Sasquatch in the news for a change. Ha ha ha. Starting out there, we're going to talk about these gorillae. That's right. Gorillas are far more numerous than previously thought. Apparently, they followed around the African lowland gorilla, which is the most prolific of them all. And they are now estimating that there are 360,000 lowland gorillas. That is awesome. The last 10 years, they've been following around these African gorillas, and they've been counting the nests that they use only once on a nightly basis. And that's how they're figuring out which troops are which and which are not. 80% of the remaining gorillas, though, do not live in protected areas. And that is something I would love to see change, because they do. They kill them and they move on. And that just sucks. So guns, germs, and cutting down the trees is killing the gorillas. So let's try, and now that we know that they're not on the brink of extinction, let's try and not let them get there again, So curious, the equatorial zone is where all the lowland gorillas kind of live in Africa. Yeah. All right. Speaking of exclusives, animals. Animal Pit series Finding Bigfoot is finally going to end with its 100th episode. And of course, that is the 50th anniversary of the Patterson-Gimlin film footage that I'm looking for like the last years. Like, they filmed it. They had this big thing. They rearranged Bigfoot days for it. They totally blew everything out of the water for October just so they could do this. And that's how they're going to end the Finding Bigfoot series. Now, some people are scoffing, saying, no, that's not the case. It's not ending. I'm seeing brand new episodes on the Travel Channel. Our Destination America. Yeah, Destination America, I think, is where they're going. But those aren't brand new. Those will be episode 1, season 1, new to you on Discovery America. So be forewarned, there are no more new Finding Bigfoot episodes after the 100th episode of the Patterson-Gimlin celebration at Bigfoot Days at Bluff Creek. So I did see some stir about something about calling it Native Giants or something, where Moneymaker is trying to, that's his gig. I'm not sure what everybody else, Cliff, we know, is out this summer doing Bigfoot expeditions, trying to fill his time that way. I'm not really sure what the rest of them are doing, but it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out in the next couple of years. All right. The New Zealand's Bigfoot, the Moha Man. Mm-hmm. That's an interesting article on hauntedman.net. It's all shadows and dust, like it is with Bigfoot. This is one of those cases where, oh, look, I got these strange pictures of this thing, but I didn't go back and get pictures of it when it wasn't there. So either they went back to the location and, found that it was a burnt out stump, like it pretty much looks like, or, whatever the case may be. I don't know. Check it out. New Zealand's mighty Moha. Man, that's just Didn't know there was a Bigfoot in New Zealand. The Paul climber survives brutal sexual assault by a Yeti-like creature. Take me on the Catman, dude. That's right. A tourist expedition in the Himalayas turned to a nightmare after an American tourist and 2 local guides were savagely attacked by a creature resembling a hairy and giant humanoid, reports the Kathmandu Herald. Jason Barclay, 28. That's right. I'm going to use your entire name. I'm going to make you famous for this claim. That's right. Was on a solo adventure across the Himalayas with his 2 local Sherpas. Well, that doesn't make it a solo adventure, but whatever. Okay. When he was attacked during the night by what he believed was a bear, but the creature lashed through his tent and started to shove the half asleep man around, who managed to stay still despite his fear. I thought I was going to die, so I played dead. Yeah, Barkay finally realized that the creature was in fact not a bear when he came in direct eye contact with the beast. It flipped my body around, and then I could see its face in the darkness. It looked deeply into my eyes. It had the face of an orangutan or some sort of ape, he explained. If this isn't a joke, God bless you, Jason Barclay, because you almost got butt by a Yeti. Wow, that's don't even. How do you? We move right along. Tulsa World. That's right. Bigfoot researchers examine recent reported sightings in Delaware County, and I believe, there's a whole bunch of weird looking footprints there, but they're mostly copies of casts of other casts, some copies of casts from other people's casts, some copies of casts. But Jay, a former Missouri deputy, now uses the skills honed when he was solving criminal cases to investigate claims of the mysterious Bigfoot creature sightings in Delaware County. Larry Newman was just one of the speakers on Saturday at the Bigfoot Field Research Organization meeting. There were about 30 people present for the 4-hour meeting, and there have been several reports of Bigfoot all over the county, including in Grove and by the Pensacola Dam, he said. So, be careful. Delaware County, Sam Squanch has been sighted. That's right. Coming right up, Dental Floss tells us about the Canadian village where Sasquatches are said to roam. Imagine that. It was a beautiful, calm evening in the early summer of 2001 when Doug Nislos and 4 companions pulled their boat up to a sandy beach in Kitsaw Bay, an ancient site where members of the Kitswahayais First Nation, I think I got that right. I tried to sound it out. It didn't do so good, I don't think. First Nation have been harvesting herring and halibut for thousands of years. The bay lay on the ocean side of the Swindle Island, opposite of the Klemtu, a village on the British Columbia's pine forest inside passage. They got a big driftwood bonfire going and a warm light against the blackness of the forest and sky where the Milky Way glittered like a dust of powdery sugar. And it goes on and on and on and on. It was a good read. I'm not so sure. This is where the Survivor Man went. And, this is one of those remote villages where he stopped and then went on the other side of the island to where supposedly they come out and they pick clams. And, I'm not really sure that the bears do it. Lots of other animals do it. So I don't know why the Bigfoot wouldn't do it. I just, we don't have any real pictures or video or people, do it. That's my one problem with it. Anyhow, get out. Bigfoot forces Michigan homeowners to leave their property. You can feel it when they're around. The Oxford English Dictionary defines the word cryptid as an animal whose existence or survival is disputed or unsubstantiated, such as the Yeti. Case file 71. Homeowners leave the property. That's right. Holland, Michigan. They moved into the woods in Robinson Township, Michigan in 2004, but by 2010, they began to notice things happening. Planters were moved or broken. Sounds in the night. I passed the sounds off as birds, not remembering birds sleeping then. Over the next few years, I became aware of hairy dudes living around my home. There was an entire group of them, multiple young or small ones and very large ones. I became alarmed and fearful, and I decided not to tell my wife. Yeah, because, you wouldn't want to warn your wife that there's giant hairy creatures living around your home that might, snatch her and pull her into the woods. Well, we'll just skip that part. Jesus. I began to sleep in my clothes with a 45-70 rifle. Oh, and she doesn't notice this. Honey, yeah, why are you sleeping with that rifle? Go back to bed, Betty. It's okay. Don't worry about it. There's nothing to worry about. For 3 years, all of my chickens, ducks, geese, and turkey were killed. All of my fruit was eaten right off my front lawn trees. Finally, when I heard them on my roof, I called a realtor and I moved out. Well, yeah, I want to know what the address to this joint is because I want to go put up my hammock there for a couple of days. That is insane. You got to listen to the details of the story to whether you can put any faith behind it. Journal of Business. Here we go. The Spokane Journal. Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC. You're going to research Sasquatch in style. That's right. When imagining the pursuit of Bigfoot, most people don't envision 5 nights on a yacht in Canada, accompanied by a scenic helicopter flight, hiking, fishing, and First Nations history and culture exposed. But Spokane-based tour company Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC will offer you just that next month with its first The Beast of Broughton Tour. The most upscale trip the company features, says Stephen Major, founder and director of operations for the business. All spots have been filled up for that expedition. Wow. Yeah, it's the year of making money on Bigfoot. Okay. Steve Coles, friend of the show. Well, we like him anyhow. We're pretty sure he likes us. He's trying to put an Indiegogo campaign together to film his documentary Cold Case Bigfoot Cold Case documentary. He's got a case in mind, and there's a lot of factors behind it, and he thinks he can get to the bottom of it. And Steve is an excellent detective, an excellent detective. And I think with the right amount of prodding, he could probably put a good product together. So if you want to check it out, you can just search for Bigfoot Cold Case, and it'll pop up on Indiegogo, or you can check in the Squatchers Lounge because there's a link for it there. Whew. Okay. Head out to redbubble.com/people/Bigfoot watch and support the show. That's right. There's a whole bunch of stuff up there from $3 stickers to $20 shirts and everything in between. Put a link in the description after the show. Get your show merch right there at redbubble.com/people/Bigfoot watch. Moving right along into the El Dorado Bigfoot watch update. Thanks to Jamie Wayne of the famed Bluff Creek Project. He posted some information about the center divide that we're going to be going up through Stumpy Meadows in a rarely seen local book called Bogus Thunder Mountains. The area that he's describing is just downstream of Stumpy Meadows, and then 30 miles north of it is rough country and home to the northmost stand of giant redwoods. And there's a couple of pages that go on to talk specifically about the Bigfoot in that area and what they like to do. One of the things that you hear a lot of reports on, and this book is from the 1960s, from when they were building the dams, is the one thing that they really like to do is to follow people, especially at dusk. That's why the fishermen and hunters who are in the know head back to their vehicles and camps when the sun goes down. It's hard to get a good look at one. Trying to get the page to turn here. The closest one can come is to get a glimpse of a large creature crashing through the brush or seeing something disappear into the shadows. Oh, sure, they're big, hairy, and walk on their hind legs, shy and all that. The Indians up there say that they can smell them downwind at least a half mile. Many things are blamed on them. One fisherman woke up one night in his sleeping bag and found that he was being dragged all over the mountainside. Finally, about daylight, the hairy creature let go of the bag and rambled off into a thicket. The fisherman claimed that he was dragged about 5 miles and must have been more than one because of different sounds and grunting taking place outside of his bag. He says they like to tear up a section corners and scatter the rocks so that the Forest Service can't locate them. Another of their favorite tricks is to start avalanches above unsuspecting fishermen. That's what eventually happened at Bogus Thunder last week. They're thinning out a bit, maybe gone for good. Some say headed up towards the Shasta Trinity County area, which we have researched and we know to be true. Too civilized down here now. I can't really blame them. Not much wild country left around here with the dam builders, developers, and loggers tearing up the country. However, if you ask me, they're still up there on the divide. All down in remote gorges, probably some down around the Grouse Falls where they like to sit and watch the falling water to the sun themselves. Also down in Peavine, they like the deeper, clear pools to bathe in. I suppose the North Fork has the largest colony around rugged Snow Mountain. So if you wanted to read the rest of those entries, you can find them at facebook.com/groups/S-Lounge. You don't have to join. You can read it there without joining. But click the join button and we'll be happy to have you along. That's where you'll find us most of the time. And that, my friends, is a week and an extra day of news. Yay. The Stumpy Meadows camp is all paid for. It's all set. We have the reservations taken care of. We are in camp number 4. So if you go out to the Black Oak Group campsite map and look where site 4 is, we are down straight at the bottom, which is going to be really nice. There's some really tall oaks in there that are going to get some nice shade for daytime naps if that's what we need. Anyhow, really looking forward to it. So far, we're about 16 of 25 slots taken. If you guys want to come on out, it's free, doesn't cost you anything but your arrival and survival costs. And they will be stocking the lake either the 2 days before we get there or 7 days before we get there. One or the other, it will be stocked with fresh rainbow trout for our arrival. So I am super, super, super looking forward to that. Speaking of things to look forward to, we have a brand spanking new quasi update from our quasi scientist, Mr. Dean Cooper. So let's go ahead and check it out. And now, quasi theories from a quasi scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Mantra. Back in early December of 2016, when the world was young, or at least younger, I created a mantra for Squatchers. I did it because the Reverend Jeff asked me to. In a particularly peculiar case of synchronicity, there was an episode of Finding Bigfoot that aired a bit after I invented the mantra, in which Renee Holland comes up with the identical mantra. That episode was recorded earlier in the year, but, and I swear to the gods that this is true, I knew nothing of it until after I also wrote that mantra. If you want to hear the mantra, it's on my YouTube channel with the title, A Squatcher's Mantra. But that is all beside the point of this quasi-dissertation, in which I will tell you the theory behind the term mantra. You all know what mantra means in common usage. You repeat a word or a series of words damn near endlessly, hoping that it gets you what you want, such as a Sasquatch, or makes something go away, possibly a scary Sasquatch. The real meaning of the word mantra is much more profound. Mantra is a Sanskrit word consisting of the root word man, which means to think, and the suffix tra, which means the prefix is a tool or instrument. The word man is also the root word for manas, the Sanskrit word for mind. So a mantra is a tool of thought. In practice, a mantra shapes the mind, shapes it in the form of what a given mantra is designed for. Now, this mind we're talking about is not the physical mind. It is not all that wobbly, globby mass inside your skull. No, it is something non-physical. It is what the ancient Greeks called the psyche. The Greeks, along with most of the ancient world, said man was composed of a body, or sarke, as in sarcophagus, the psyche, or soul, and the pneuma, as in pneumatic, or spirit. Our spirit is our real self. It uses the soul to think and tell the body what to do. The soul is non-physical in the sense that it exists in a higher order reality than the body. The spirit is in an even higher order reality. That's the simplistic version anyways. The soul is the equivalent of the Sanskrit manas, or mind, and we all know how wiggly our minds are. A mantra is used to focus the mind on a specific intent and stop all those wiggly jiggly thoughts. Now, there are mantras devised to shape your mind for all sorts of purposes, including naughty purposes. Using naughty mantra for naughty purposes is called black magic. Doing black magic will make some very bad karma for you. Aside from having a bad time in future incarnations, it will land you in an astral hell for a long period of astral time. And astral time can seem like an eternity. I did 2 different quasi-dissertations on astral hells. They are not nice places, and technically, those naughty purposes include trying to get rich, get laid, get a pony, i.e., anything selfish. Most mantras, though, are intended to quiet your mind enough to allow the light of your spirit to come through, thereby illuminating your mind and letting some of that light come into this lower plane where we live. Normally, this is where I would end with a bad pun or some witticism, but I'll just say this. Om Shanti Shanti Om. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
bydean.com. There you go. Quasi theories from a quasi scientist. It'll stop eventually, I'm sure. Yeah, that may have let that one go just a little long. But hey, it's okay. Because you know what time it is? It is now time for Camping Tips for Stupids. That's right. A brand new one from the Gone Camping channel and the mind of Mr. Jevin Moore. Here we go.
Camping Tips for Stupids. Tip number 64. Springtime is the time of year when the gates of hell open froth and spew its loins of minions, or liberals, into the great outdoors. Like a great flood or deluge of idiots and dumbasses, campgrounds are swamped with the human refuse of civilization. So let's go fishing. Step 1. Get a shit ton of beer. Step 2. Get a boat. Step 3. Put boat in water. Step 4. Sail the fuck away. Step 5. Drink the shit ton of beer. Step 6. Don't come back till they all fell asleep. This has been Camping Tips. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
Oh my God. God bless you, Jevin. Because no one else is gonna. Oh, that's a drink a shit ton of beer. That's about right. That's how most fishing gets done out there. That's quite all right, my man. But tonight we are talking about Kentucky. With everybody going east, how do you find yourself going to Kentucky? Well, I kind of walk north and then slightly point left. Yeah, that's how I would do it too. Bunch of audio comes out of Kentucky now. Not all of it's fantastic audio, and I've got a couple of examples of that this evening, but some of it is. Now, the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization, I'm definitely going to give them props for for the type of research that they are doing out there. Let's get in on where we're looking at here tonight in Kentucky. Now, we talked to Chris Cullinan a lot about Kentucky, mostly about the Louisville area around his particular haunts for sure. But when we look at Kentucky as a whole, you know, it's got giant green belts that run through it. It's got secondary forests, and not everything was cut down all at the same time. At least you'd like to think that. You look at the deforestation maps of America, and it just makes you cry a little bit, just a little bit. But here we go. I finally got us a satellite map to kind of take a quick peek at, and you know, this literally is, you know, what Kentucky looks like in a hole. I said, look in her hole. I'm sorry. I'm having one of those days. All right, so this first case that I've got here, now I think we may have actually listened to these before, and I've made some comment on it, or I played them on another show where we were just talking about audios, but this one's known as the Kentucky vocalizations, and they're just, well, you listen and let's take a look and get judgment. Well, crap. We're not going to do that yet. Damn it. Because I didn't play Romper Room, and I'm not going to miss my opportunity to say hello to my fans. Hello, people out there in internet lands. It's time for shout-outs. Sorry I almost missed it. It's been a funny kind of a week, and with it being Thursday, I got everything all squatched up. So there she is, Squatchbox. How you doing, girl? Glad you have joined us tonight. I'm sure that means that Christopher is out there as well. Eat your vegetables. Ketchup and cheese is okay, as long as you're eating them. There's the Starshine. She's in the house with us tonight, along with Miss Natalie Smith. I hope you're feeling better. I really, really do. Mr. Timothy McCune is back in the house, along with Ken. How you doing, pal? Keith Harden, he's out there, along with Mr. Shane Barber. How you doing there, sir? I see there's Alice and Timmy and Billy and mine. Lance Windsor is in the house. How you doing there, pal? Glad you are with us as well. I know there's more than this out there. We have, that striper was so good. Grilled lime and garlic whitefish. Just look it up. Martha Stewart. Oh, my goodness. Fish tacos. Oh, to die for. Let's see. I know there's more people out here. Y'all got here. James the Grower. There's one man. How you doing, champ? Jeremy Harrison. Jonathan Dowdy. Hope you guys are feeling well out there. I know there's Rod Dupree. He's always in the place to be. And I see Sally and here's Rock City Marco checking in. Wow, it's been a while since we've seen Rock City Marco out in the house. Live, at least. Oreo Cream Rock, she's out there having Sasquatches yell back and forth on her ranch. If she can get any decent audio of it, we might bring you that next week. Cheryl Welland's in the house. How you doing, Sharon? Aaron Duncan. Can Squanch. There's more. I know there's more. We're getting down to the bottom. If you haven't said hi, you better soon. It's because otherwise I don't know that you are here. I see there is the Life and Times of JCM. That's our own Jevin Moore, the guy from Gone Camping. That's right. Slide time. There you go. Oxia, Mexico. All right, man. I know I didn't pronounce that right, but that's because I'm a honky. Well, I'm not really a honky, but you get my point. The Vibes of Truth. How you doing? Chris Cullinan, of course, there's the man. We just talking about him. And yeah, there we go. I think we're getting down to the bottom of it, people. So let me know. Catching up here. Reverend Matthew Gaines checking in the house late. How you doing there, sir? Karen Robb, you made it in as well. Sam Squanch Rivera. Root Man. How you doing there, champ? Bum 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 bum. Everybody's saying hi to Dwarf, so Brown Dwarf must have made it in as well. I think Mr. Don Rife, howdy, sir. Glad you are with us as well. And I think that is where we're at, pretty much. So God bless y'all for being here. And I hope you guys feel well and stay well, and may the healing light of whatever you believe in make you feel better forever. Amen. All right. Back to Kentucky. All right. Yeah, for sure. So this very first one, I like I said, I've either played it before or we've talked about it before, but it's just one of those very strange cases, the Kentucky vocalizations. You know, this is just one of those cases where I'm not really sure what that is. It definitely, I always want to make that one out to be wind whipping across the top of a pipe, like a vent pipe, like maybe a pump house pipe or something that's vented, a shitter house pipe that's vented, and the wind's blowing across it. It just doesn't sound like an animal vocalizing to me at all. Now, the next one does come out of the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization. This one is a loud knock return. They're out doing howls and knocks. The knock doesn't come for a long time after the initial taunt, so stick with it.
Woo!
Now, there's no doubt that was wood on wood knock, and that it was a powerful knock. Now, for me, I want to find the source of what tree got hit. If you hit it that hard, there should be some damage to the bark that reflects upon Biggie squaring up like Babe Ruth and knocking one out of the park there. I really, but that is an obvious knock return of some sort, and it's not even all that far off. So did Biggie hear a knock, come running until he saw something, and then did his own knock? I don't really know, but it's definitely. I would love to have seen somebody find the source of that return knock itself, but unfortunately, there was no continued investigation on that one. Now, the next one This one's really impressive to me. I mean, at first I thought these were humans, like doing taunting calls, but apparently that's not the case. Again, from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization. Yeah, I can't. I can't put my finger on what's making that noise. Not in Kentucky, anyhow. If there was a zoo nearby or whatever the case, but they've got the video of this. It's just literally they're just out in the freaking woods, and that's the kind of thing that I've had happen with us, just sitting around a campfire, just all of a sudden, whoop, whoop. It's like, where the hell did that come from? Everybody just kind of sits there silence and then starts to get up and go in different directions to try and locate whatever it was that was making those very strange sounds in the woods. But this one, like I said, I'm this. Yeah, I just have no idea outside of a primate as to what that could be. Now the last one, this one's from the Crypto Crew, Thomas Markham and those guys. They do a lot of investigation in the Tennessee and the Kentucky area, and this one came from one of their witnesses who just happened to be catching these weird howls, and they happened to get some on tape, and I really don't know what to think of them either. I mean, they really are, again, one of those things that I just can't place as to what kind of animal would really be putting those out there. Well then, not really sure. There we go. Now that was one of those that I wasn't able to enhance very much because of the background hissing that was there. If I brought that up, it overpowered the howls. It actually, at this level, turn up your volume and you'd be able to hear it a lot better. But take another listen to that. It takes a minute for it to start to kick in, but it's got that guttural sound to it, like most of those Bigfoot howls that I seem to want to lean towards being authentic. Is it a great big dog? Is it a Bigfoot? I don't know. You're going to have to make the call on that one for sure. But I'm leaning towards Bigfoot. Yeah, because it's voices in the night. That's right. All right, people. That's going to wrap it up for our edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast for this evening. I do have another real Bigfoot encounter for you. And it is one of my very, very own encounters from the Ocala National Forest. Many of you probably haven't heard this one before. So with that, I want to thank every single one of you guys for being out with me tonight. I see that Sean Lavish showed up a little late, so we'll say hello to him as well. And I think that is where we are at. So shoot to thrill. Hello there. And Spike Jeff showed up as well. Sharon Willen, hiya. Blazing, hiya. So glad you guys could join us here for the second half of the show. And with that, thank you all for being here. I made a Squatch be with you. Enjoy this real Bigfoot encounter flashback. Welcome to a special episode of Real Bigfoot Encounters with Reverend Jeff. This week's story comes from the depths of my very own encounter records. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. I was invited by my friend Jack to go camping off-grid deep in the Ocala National Forest. It was Halloween weekend and the moon was going to be full, so we figured the night fishing would be unbeatable. I took the time off from my IT job and headed up to meet Jack at his place to pack up and head out early. We drove up the middle of the forest on Route 19 for what seemed like forever. We hadn't passed a car or seen a home in well over 15 miles. Jack had found a little place called Grasshopper Lake, and it was just the type of place he liked to take the Jeep to get away from it all. We headed off the main road and down onto this very small trail that led deeper off-road and up around the swamp area of the lake. Jack spotted a safe place to pull the Jeep up on dry land, and it was perfect to make camp, not 20 yards from the water. We quickly dropped the sleeping gear and set up a small camp with a fire pit surrounded by our hammocks. Gathered up a bunch of firewood as we wouldn't want to try to do that after dark, and this was the first we heard. A high-pitched whoop came across the lake. Jack and I had been camping for years off-grid in places just like this, and he never heard a sound like that. We wrote it off as some weird animal and went back about our business. I must admit we weren't being very stealthy, kidding and joking and being young men, and we had stirred things up quite a bit. Well, the camp was set up and the wood was split and stacked. It was time to get a line wet and catch us some dinner. Hours had passed with a few small panfish in the bucket when all of a sudden, what seemed like right beside us, we heard a loud knock like a baseball bat on a log or something of the sort. Jack sprung up from his seat, thinking maybe that the tree had given way and it could be falling on us. I set down my rod and looked around. We could find nothing that led us to that sound. Just about then, my rod drag went off and something big was on the line. So I snagged up my rod and set the hook and started to fight the fish, when again from across the lake we heard knocks, but this time it was 3 of them. Knock, knock, knock. Methodical almost. It seemed intentional, yet we couldn't see much past 5 feet into the bank as the woods were very dense there. I managed to reel in a really nice catfish, so we gathered up our things and walked back to camp to clean the fish and start a fire. I grabbed up the fire tinder bundle and made Jack clean the fish. Since I obviously caught the biggest meal, he got to clean it, as our bet always went. He was a pro, cleaned the fish in a bucket as to not attract the local wildlife, and took the leftovers back down to the lake and washed out the bucket. While Jack was out of camp, right from behind me, I heard what sounded like a snort. As there are hundreds of wild bear in the area we were, I stopped what I was doing and started to check my surroundings for danger. I noticed something moving about 25 yards back in the scrubs, but soon it was gone. Jack had returned, and I told him what happened. He mentioned he had heard a snort down by the lake as well. Whatever they were, there was more than one of them. A few hours passed, and the sun had set and gone. The full moon was on the rise when Jack decides to try and replicate the knocks we heard early in the day. He picked up a large branch and wailed it against a thick pine tree, breaking the branch into a few pieces and letting out a loud, cracking knock. And that's when the trouble began. Right away, something just outside the firelight started pacing back and forth between the trees. Jack backed up next to me in camp and quietly asked if I had seen it, which I did. It was tall, very tall, dark and moving on 2 legs. Then just as fast, we lost sight of it. Then from behind us, a fist-sized rock hit the log right next to the fire. I picked it up and tossed it back to the location from where it came. 40 seconds later, it came back into us again from a different side of camp. Now Jack looked at me and I stared right back at him, and I'm sure we had the same thought, just what in the hell do we do now? We took notice of any direction we could flee, as it seemed to be the 2 animals were stalking in closer to camp. I started to build a fire higher, piling lots of small branches on it to make it as bright as possible, and that's when we saw it. 7 to 8 feet tall, covered in dark brown hair, one arm wrapped around a giant pine tree, and the other hanging at its side nearly to its knee, peeking out from the tree not 10 yards from the fire. It hissed, and then let out a loud whoop, and it darted from the darkness. Just then, a couple of pine cones were tossed into camp. We turned to look at where the pine cones came from, then back to where the Bigfoot had been standing, and it was gone. Jack and I sat close to the fire the rest of the night. We kept it burning bright until the sun had risen enough to see the lake. We dashed down to the lake and brought back a bucket of water and killed the fire, then packed up camp. We jumped into the Jeep and tore off backwards, the highway that led us back to town. We stopped at the ranger station that was on the edge of town, and the poor lady ranger on duty just couldn't really grasp what we were trying to tell her. She said we had to have been mistaken for bears, but bears don't walk on 2 legs, and Florida black bears are not 8 foot tall. Jack and I did far less camping after that trip. We decided to keep our encounter between us until we found somebody we could trust. I guess that's why I'm telling you now. They're out there. I've seen them, and if you get lucky, you will too. These avid fishermen tempted fate and angered the Bigfoot. Some things that go bump in the night are better left alone. It could have been far worse, but indeed it was another real Bigfoot encounter. Thanks for watching. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.